This week, the Trump administration officially filed formal charges against Wisconsin Judge Hannah Duggan for allegedly aiding the escape of an undocumented immigrant that was being sought by federal officials. Now, I've talked about the story. In case anybody is not familiar with it, let me give it to you in a nutshell. Judge Hannah Duggan had a man in her court on different charges, not even immigration charges. I believe it was domestic abuse. So he's in the court. He is in the country illegally. ICE agents show up, say, "We got to take this guy." And she's like, "Absolutely not. We're in the middle of a hearing here, and he's going to go through due process, and we're going to prosecute him for the horrible things he's done." And she told them, by the way, that the warrant you have is not even the correct warrant to be able to do this. You need to go talk to the superior judge. Well, ICE got mad. They walked out of the courtroom. Then when the hearing finished, she told the guy, like, "Hey, don't walk out the main doors. Go out the jury door here." And that's what happened. So the Trump administration says, nope, she tried to let this guy escape, even though they got him. So they've filed formal charges this week after her arrest several weeks ago. Her lawyers, however, have gotten a little creative. And they have now submitted a filing to the court asking for all charges to be immediately dismissed due to a Supreme Court ruling from last summer that really seems to suggest that members of the government in positions of authority actually have some kind of immunity from prosecution. And yes, they specifically cited the Supreme Court's decision on Donald Trump's immunity that was handed down last summer. Here's what the lawyers wrote. "The problems with this prosecution are legion, but most immediately, the government cannot prosecute Judge Duggan because she is entitled to judicial immunity for her official acts. Immunity is not a defense to the prosecution to be determined later by a jury or court. It is an absolute bar to the prosecution at the outset." Which, of course, is, citing that case. The attorneys focused on the Supreme Court's holding that, quote, In dividing official from unofficial conduct, courts may not inquire into the president's motives. Because Judge Duggan's instructions within her courtroom constituted official conduct, Judge Duggan therefore has both immunity from conviction and immunity from prosecution. So the Supreme Court says, listen, the courts really don't get to decide what's official, what's not official. We can't pretend to be in a person's head. And we do know that judges cannot be held liable for decisions that they hand down unless you find some kind of corruption involving it, like the Kids for Cash scandal. But that's the same kind of immunity: presidential immunity, judicial immunity, congressional immunity, which they also have, speech or debate, right? So they're using this ruling that effectively protected Donald Trump against him and his administration. This is hilarious. And by the way, when this ruling came down last summer, I predicted that eventually you're going to see people on the left or, Trump's enemies using it in the same way. And boom, here it is. And for the record, yes, this is a viable, valid legal argument. The judge, for anything they say from the bench, they get immunity. So if she's up on the bench and is like, "Hey, leave through that door," that's an order from a judge. If you ignore an order from a judge, you can be held in contempt. That seems pretty straightforward to me. That is clever, it's smart, it's valid. I love everything about it. So hopefully this case prevails, because if not, we will see more and more judges across this country arrested for not doing what Donald Trump wants them to do. Everything is on the line with this case. This is a big one. This is incredibly important. And hopefully Judge Duggan and this legal argument prevail. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. We got fresh content every day for you. And if you want to follow us across social media, make sure you check out all of the social links that we have posted in the description of this video.